Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to try and solve one of the world's most enduring legends, the Bermuda Triangle. But here's the thing. This isn't a story about paranormal forces or alien abductions. Nope. It's actually a story of some really careful research, all guided by the curiosity of one very persistent librarian. Just the name itself, the Bermuda Triangle, it brings up these images, right? Ships and planes just vanishing without a trace into those misty, churning waters of the Atlantic. It's a legend that has totally captivated us, a modern myth that feels like it was born right from the sea itself. For decades, we've all heard the stories. Hundreds of vessels, thousands of lives, all supposedly claimed by this mysterious patch of ocean. But here's a thought. What if the real mystery isn't about what was lost out there in the water, but about how the whole legend was pieced together and maybe even, invented? Okay, so first, let's take a look at the legend that we all kind of know and love, a collection of tales so powerful they've pretty much overshadowed the facts for generations. I mean, listen to that. They've vanished as completely as if they'd flown to Mars. That was from a Navy officer talking about the search for Flight 19. And that quote really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? It's not just a disappearance. It's like a departure from our world, something that seems way beyond any rational explanation. That right there is the essence of the legend. All right, so to really get to the bottom of this, our story has to leave the ocean behind. And it actually starts in a pretty unexpected place, a quiet university library. A place of facts, records, and one very important question. So picture this. It's 1972. You're a reference librarian at Arizona State University, a guy named Lawrence David Kusche. And people keep coming up to you, day after day, asking for info on the Bermuda Triangle. So you go to look it up, and you find next to nothing. Just a bunch of flashy, sensational articles, but no real, solid sources. And that's where Kush says it all started for him. He's got all these people asking, but nothing to give them. So what does he do? He does what a great librarian does. He decides to investigate it himself. He goes on this quiet, determined quest to find the actual primary sources behind all these wild stories. And he really went for it. I mean, this wasn't just some quick research. He was writing letters, digging through these dusty old archives. He got in touch with the U.S. Coast Guard, Lloyd's of London, the Navy. He was sitting there scrolling through miles of old newspaper microfilm, just trying to find the original reports of these so-called mysteries. So, what did all that digging actually turn up? Let's kind of peek over his shoulder and see what he found when he started opening up the case files on the most famous incidents. Because this is where the whole thing starts to unravel. Okay, Flight 19. This is the big one, right? The absolute cornerstone of the whole Triangle legend. The story everyone knows. 5 Navy bombers on a simple training flight, beautiful, clear afternoon, and poof, they just vanish from the sky. No wreckage, no survivors, just gone. It's the perfect, inexplicable mystery. But then, you look at the official record, the one Kusche spent so much time with. The Navy's own 500-page report tells a totally different story. That calm, clear day? Not so much. Another pilot said the sea was very rough. The flight leader was completely lost, reporting that both of his compasses were busted. The radio contact was awful. And the rescue plane they sent? Tragically, it was seen exploding in mid-air. See, it wasn't some paranormal event. It was just this awful chain of human error, failing gear, and some really, really bad weather. Okay, so what about other cases? Let's take a look at the freighter Sandra. The legend paints this really haunting picture, right? A big ship sailing off into a peaceful tropic dusk off the coast of Florida. And then it's just gone, forever. But the truth? Well, it wasn't buried very deep. Kusche just checked the old newspaper weather reports for that day back in April 1950. And guess what? The Sandra wasn't sailing into a peaceful dusk. It was sailing straight into a massive storm. There were literally small craft warnings hoisted all over the place, so peaceful was about the last thing it was. And this next one, this one has a detail that is just so creepy it's hard to forget. The tanker VA Fog. The story goes that when they found the ship, the crew was gone, but the captain's body was in his cabin, still clutching a coffee cup. I mean, wow. Except, it's not true. Not a single bit of it. Kashish actually tracked down and contacted the lead investigator on the case, a Lieutenant Solano. And what did he say? He said that whole coffee cup thing was, and I quote, a pure work of fiction. The captain wasn't even found in his cabin. He was in the wheelhouse. That one chilling detail, It was completely made up, probably just to make the story sound spookier. So as Kusche went through case after case, and we're talking dozens of them, this pattern just kept showing up again and again. He realized the real mystery wasn't out there in the ocean. It was in how these stories were being told. And his conclusion was pretty mind-blowing, actually. The legend of the Bermuda Triangle, he said, is basically this fascinating case study in how you can turn fact into fiction. The mystery wasn't about physics or aliens. It was about poor reporting and sensational storytelling. And you could actually break down how the myth gets made. It's like a recipe. First, you take a real event, like a ship being lost in a hurricane. Step 2, the storyteller just leaves out the hurricane. Step 3, they add in some fake details, like the seas were calm. They might even take a disappearance from a totally different part of the world and just say it happened in the triangle. And finally, that new, embellished story gets told and retold until people just accept it as fact. So, where does that leave us? After all this detective work from our librarian, what's the final answer? What happens to the legend now? Well, what Kusche's research really showed was that nothing particularly mysterious was happening at all. The number of ships and planes lost in that area wasn't strange or unusually high. I mean, think about it. It's a super busy shipping lane, it gets hit by hurricanes, and it has the powerful Gulf Stream current. It would actually be weird if things didn't go missing sometimes. The real mystery wasn't what happened to the vessels. No, the real mystery, the one that's maybe even more interesting, is this. How did these stories get started? How did they get so twisted and exaggerated? And probably the biggest question of all is, why do we love them so much? Why are we so captivated by these mysteries, even when the simple, logical answers are sitting right there, waiting for us in an archive or a library? That's the real question to ponder.